Hi Nidhi, how are you?
Hi Sonia, I'm good.
Wonderful. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining in today. I welcome you all to the Knowledge Happy Hour, episode number 12. We meet on everyday basis, except one day, but yeah, we meet on everyday basis to discuss every day a different topic with a different speaker. We have covered so much till date. We have covered a little bit about raising your vibe. We have covered law of attraction. We discussed grooming trends. We discussed celebrity styling. We discussed even business and how to grow your business. We discussed growth mindset. I shared my few challenges. Anita shared a little bit about body image. Ashwin's session was about time management, and Ruja spoke about copywriting. So amazing panel discussions and amazing speakers had come and given their insights on everyday basis. And today is our 12th day of Knowledge Happy Hour. And so I welcome you all. And I have a really interesting speaker today, Nidhi Yadav. Welcome, Nidhi.
Thank you, Sonia.
And a little bit just for all of you to know about Nidhi. Nidhi is a certified image consultant from Indian School of Image Management. She's a proud alumni. She's also certified from Indian International Image Institute, Canada. She has a lot of experience in marketing and sales, and she's an MBA in marketing from Symbiosis University. So she's combined all her experience together and instilled confidence and brought transformation in like thousands of women that I know of, at least. Maybe there are more, the number has changed, Nidhi, maybe. She's also a neurolinguistic practitioner and a programming practitioner and a coach. And that I know, she is really interested about, has immense interest in all kind of healing techniques. So she has practiced and she has learned Reiki, she has learned healing, crystal therapy, crystal healing. I think to name a few to start with. I know there is a long list, but these are the few that I know of. So today's Nidhi will be talking about the neuro-linguistic programming. But before that, one more thing or one more side to Nidhi, she likes to give back to the society, and she has been closely associated with a NGO called Sparsh. So that's about Nidhi in a very short. There is a lot to know, lot to learn from, and she's going to be sharing a little bit on neuro-linguistic programming with all of you today. So welcome, Nidhi, and over to you.
Thank you, Sonia, for that lovely introduction. Hi, everybody. I'm actually glad to be here. And first of all, I would like to thank Sonia for giving me this beautiful opportunity to be here and present in front of you all. I'm truly privileged to share this platform where we've had eminent speakers from the industry like Karen, Wendy, Ada, Anna, Ida, Ashwin, Sonia. The ISIM tribe has definitely been at par, and I'm really happy to be amongst you all. Thank you so much to everybody who's here, sparing your valuable time to listen to me, especially with the COVID 19 lockdown, where you have loads of work from home and work at home. I hope you enjoy this presentation. And even after the presentation is over, I would like to tell all of you that you have my contact details, you have my phone number, so you can always reach out to me in case you have any queries, any questions, even after the presentation is over. So thank you so much. Before wasting too much of time, let's just get started on it.
Go ahead, Nidhi. We are all waiting for you.
So friends, let's just begin with the presentation. First of all, I want all of you to look at these problems: migraine, anxiety and phobias, rapport building, communication issues, allergies, stress, addiction, depression, relationship issues, goal setting and goal getting, confidence issues. Do any of these problems sound familiar to you? Do you or anybody you know is suffering from these and you want solutions to them? Yes, that is what we are here for. NLP. NLP is the cure. This is the solution. And we are going to learn a few techniques, few modalities, and how and why we think that NLP can solve these problems for us. So stay glued towards till the end of the presentation, and I'm sure you will have loads to take back. The whole philosophy of NLP can be summarized in a small little quote which says, the conscious mind is the goal setter and the unconscious mind is the goal getter. So what do we mean here is that the unconscious mind is not out to get you. It's actually there to get for you. But if the unconscious mind is not aligned with the conscious mind, it will keep getting you repeatedly undesired outcomes. And you will not know what to do and how to do it. So imagine for a moment, if there is any habit that you could break, or if anything that you could change about yourself, what would it be? Would you stop procrastinating and spending so much of time on social media, like Ashwin discussed that day, all those time wasters? Would you actually stay calm during your work presentations or maybe during this COVID-19 pandemic? Or would you keep yourself away from all that binge eating? What would you do? So when you're, if you learn through NLP, you can actually learn how to tap into your unconscious and how to make the two align together. And you will actually feel that you're being gently guided and pulled towards your goals. All kind of procrastination will stop. Your energy will suddenly surge. The decision making will be easy and you will actually feel that you can take actions in a more clearer way. From your inside, you will feel that your head, which is the logical mind, your heart, which is the seat of emotions, and your gut, which is the instincts or the intuition, like we call it, they're all working in sync with each other. They're all harmonized. So you will feel that they're not fighting for each other. Your head is going in a different direction and your heart says, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. So it doesn't happen like that. It will actually work in sync. So in NLP, we can actually get solutions on how to do this better. So before we get on to that, let's just see why and how NLP came into in the world. So we talk about the history of NLP. It was developed in the 1970s by two of the eminent people, John Grinder, who was a linguist, and Richard Bandler, who was a computer programmer. So these two actually came together and they wanted to see why some people were getting desired outcomes, why they were performing so well, what kind of strategies they were applying, how they were doing things that they were getting, they were performing well. So they wanted to study what kind of strategies they were using in their minds. So they chose three people, three of the most amazing people of those times who were getting amazing results working on people. So first was Fritz Perls, who is the father of Gestalt therapy, Virginia Satir, she is the mother of family therapy, and Milton Erickson, who was a legendary hypnotherapist of all times. So they studied these three people and they devised a tool of tools and techniques which could actually be replicated by anybody, and anybody could get results. And from then on, these tools have actually been used by people in all disciplines, people from arts, sports, businesses, students, housewives, teachers, everybody has used these tools and they've got beautiful outcomes. So let us just see what neuro-linguistic programming is all about. What is NLP? So first we start with the word neuro. Neuro is basically neurons, how your brain is taking in information. And you will be surprised to know that a human brain has got 82 billion neurons. And each neuron has a capacity of 80 GB. So you can imagine the capacity our brain can hold. But is it actually able to take in that information? No. So we actually perceive, so psychologists say that we can just take in about 7 or plus minus 2 bits of information at any point of time. In fact, if I ask you to think of any product, any brand, say in a product category, if it is of low interest, you will just be able to name about 2 or 3. And if it's a high interest category, you might just reach up to a 7 plus 2, maybe a 9. Most of the times I'm saying. But if we were actually able to take in all the information, we would go crazy. So you can try this activity at home. You can think of your favorite products and brands, and you can just do this. You will realize that, yes, this works. So let's see how our brain is perceiving all the information that is being thrown at us. Let's say there is an event. By event, I do not mean an occasion, a celebration. An event could be anything, as simple as a drive from your work, from your home to your workplace. So we're taking all the events that are occurring in our day-to-day life. We use our 5 senses: the visual, the auditory, which is the hearing sense, kinesthetic, the feel, olfactory, which is the nose, gustatory, which is the smell. So we use these 5 senses to perceive this information and take in the information. Now this, whatever information we have collected, it gets stored in our conscious brain. Whatever we have seen, felt, smelt, tasted, heard. So this is all event 1. Now what happens is, we're not able to take this like this. We either delete the information. When I say delete, suppose you're traveling from place A to place B. There are a lot of signboards that you see, a lot of cars that are crossing you, a lot of people that you see. There are shops, there are buildings, there are a lot of trees, but we're not able to take in all that information. We just taken maybe about 7 plus minus 2. We're just able to remember that much in the entire drive. A lot of times we distort information. What is distort information? We actually make these untested assumptions. So let's see, I make a phone call to my husband, and if he does not call back, or if he does not reply back in a certain time, I'm like, he does not care for me. He does not care enough. Or maybe if my children are playing in their toy room, and if I don't hear them for a very long time, I start assuming that they must be busy with the mobile. So these are all untested assumptions. We basically distort the facts. A lot of times we generalize information. We make global conclusions out of things which have happened just once or twice. And we actually imagine that they will keep happening and keep repeating over time. Like say, one woman is not driving properly, the other one is not. So we generalize the whole fact that women can't drive well, or women can't read maps, or politicians are dishonest. There is no tested basis for this, but yes, we know that 1 or 2 people have done it in the past. So we have generalized the whole to the whole population. So this is actually what is event 2. And this gets stored in our subconscious brain, and this is what memory is. So it is not the importance of event 1, it is the importance of event 2, because this is our perception of reality. It is definitely not reality if you see it again. The reality was event 1, but we used our 5 senses to make it event 2. Then we deleted, distorted, and generalized the information, and we created our own perception. So wherein the event will remain the same for 2 different people, but their perception of reality will be very different based on all these 3, their attitudes, their behaviors, their habits. So all of these will make a different event 2 a memory in their subconscious brain. Now, whatever event 2 is there, it will definitely form a state. Now, state can be positive or it can be negative. So when it is a positive state, it will give us a resourceful feeling, all good things about us: wellness, happiness, creativity, joyful, concentration. When it's a negative state, it will be unresourceful things that are coming to our mind: illness, sadness, distress, depression, confusion. So whatever event that is happening in our subconscious brain, it will lead to a positive feeling or lead to a negative feeling. So all whatever state it forms in our mind, this is what neuro is. Don't think this is very complicated. Once you get in the presentation, you will realize that it is not that complicated. So now we talk about the linguistic part, the language part of it. So we've actually formed a state. Either we are in a happy mood or we are in a sad mood. Now both these states will make us act. The act could be verbal or it could be non-verbal. The verbal, as you all know, is through our speech, through our actions. And non-verbal will be our attitude, our perspective, our body language. So depending on the states that we have formed, we will act in a particular manner. This is the linguistic part of it. Now programming. Programming is basically a set of instructions which help us to get a result. So whatever act we have performed based on our positive and the negative states, we will be in a verbal, we will be in a, either in a, we'll get a desired, we'll get an outcome basically, sorry. So we'll get an outcome from whatever verbal or non-verbal communication that we use. Now, when we combine all these three, we get this map. Don't get bogged down by this. It's very, very simple. So we have an event which creates an event one, which is actually stored in our memory, verbal, non-verbal, positive state, negative state. It gives us an outcome. Now we have to make this outcome as a desirable outcome, because this outcome may not be what we've actually thought of. So here NLP is the cure. It will actually help us change the state, because if you see, it is the state which is actually creating this problem. So state will actually make us act in a positive or a negative manner. Our verbal, non-verbal behavior will change. All of this will happen. And that is how the outcome will not be as desirable as we've thought it to be. So NLP can actually help us change our state. When we are in a negative state, we are full of all worries, tension, fear, foggy headedness. We can't think of anything. We are in a positive state. We are all calm, composed, comfortable. We can think clearly. So how do we change this negative state to a positive state? Suppose a negative state is a panic attack. You're all sweaty, your blood pressure rises up, your heartbeat is completely up, your body is shivering, your mind is completely blank. You don't know whom to trust, what to do. And that's an extreme example, of course, of a negative state. But if, let's say, another negative state, maybe there is a work presentation and you think your boss does not like your work. So constantly you will have these what ifs running in your mind. What if he does not do this? What if he did not react like that? So instead of using your resources to work proactively and productively, you're actually creating this worst case scenario image in your mind. So we can actually, NLP is a set of tools which can help you change your state from your negative state to your positive state. And all businessmen are actually using this. They can take decisions logically because they have these people who are helping them take these decisions. But if they are, it is actually the state and the strength of the state which will help them take actions and help them overcome all the obstacles that they face in their life. If you think of a surgeon who is basically playing a certain 20-year-old video game before he goes to the theater, or maybe a rock star. So every time before he hits the stage, he will recite a particular chant. Or if you look at sportsmen, somebody might have a particular way of lacing their shoes. So what is common to these examples is these people have learned how to change their negative state to a positive state and get more resourceful so that they can get desirable outcomes. Let's take my example. I play a mobile game, Clash of Clans. It's a battle strategy kids game, but yes, I love playing it. So when my first troop dies, what happens is I get stressed and I get bogged down. and then I'm not able to concentrate for the next few minutes and I lose.
Nidhi, sorry to jump in here. Do you want to just like stop the share and reshare again? Because
Yeah,
the slides are little, they're overlapping on each other, I guess, at our end.
I will do that.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually thinking that something is wrong, but then I
Yeah.
thought that maybe it's wrong in my screen only. Let me just go.
No, no. Even we checked it at end. Even, yeah, this is what we are seeing. So
Yeah,
it's,
it actually looked slightly weird to me also.
all right,
Uh,
let's just go to the next slide maybe because that's
yeah,
just overlapping. Yeah, so
maybe I'll do that only. Yeah.
sure.
No, let me just start the slideshow from here. No, it is not working. So we go from here.
Yeah, we can be on this slide. That's all right.
Yeah, and then we can probably talking what we were talking.
Sure, sure.
Okay,
Thanks. Go ahead,
thank
please.
you. I thought it was happening, but then I thought maybe it is only on my screen that I can see it all weird.
No worries. It's all right.
Thank
It's
you.
fixed now.
Thank you so much. So if we and if I'm able, if I was on this example where I play this game and I don't know how to get into when I lose the battle. So when I lose my first troop, it is actually a trigger for me to focus better. And then if I'm able to focus better and if I'm able to think for a little more time, I win the battle. My performance peaks up. So that is very important for us to be in a positive and resourceful state. When I talk of a resourceful state, it does not mean that you have to be surrounded by all the people who adore you. You don't have to have the best of the perfect environment, the best of people surrounding you. You don't have to be a master of everything. You just have to have that confidence that you can do it. It is not like positive thinking where the little engine is chanting continuously on your head that you can do it, you can do it. It is a completely experiential state where you don't have to convince yourself that you can do it. You know that you can do it. And every part of your body, whether it is physical, mental, or emotional, part of your body knows that it is possible for you and you will do it. So in NLP, we have these tools which can help us be in a resourceful state. We can have these quick anchors which can help us get in from a negative emotion state to a positively emotional state. So like every technique or every therapy or every science, there is a basic underlying assumption, a hypothesis that is true. And NLP is also based on certain guiding principles, which we call presuppositions. Presuppositions, if we break it into two, it is pre plus suppose. These are some beliefs that we assume to be true. They may not be true in every case, but this is the basic that we think of and take it to be true for everybody. And from there, we move on to finding solutions. So in total, there are about 16 NLP presuppositions. Let us just touch on a few to see what the guiding principles are. The first presupposition is the map is not the territory. So when we say this, we know that everybody who is perceiving the information, it is not the reality, but it is their perception of reality. So for two people, like we discussed, the reality is very different. Their perception is the reality was the same, but their perception, how they were taking in information, how they were acting on it, very different. So when a particular person is behaving in a certain manner, we know that this is not the reality. There is definitely something else to it. And our perception can always, it will either, if it is a negative thing, it will limit us. If it is a positive thing, it empowers us. So from there on, we move to see why a person is behaving in a manner, and we find solutions to to those people, and we use the techniques accordingly. The next assumption is every behavior has a positive intent in some context. So every person, nobody wants to sabotage themselves. So if a person is behaving in a certain manner, it is not because they want to do it, but because there is something else running on in their mind. So if there is a person who is smoking a cigarette, he does not want to harm himself. He is not doing it to harm his health. Maybe he just wants to feel social with his friends, or maybe he gets some kind of positive feelings. If there is someone who is behaving in a very angry manner, maybe he's under attack by somebody, or maybe he is just trying to attempt to get people to understand his point of view or whatever he wants to say. So if we look at these people, they are correct in their own perspective and in their own minds. They may get desired results, they may not get useful results. But if we look at their side of it, we know why they're doing it. So in NLP, we try to understand why people are behaving the way they are behaving, and we try to give them alternatives to get the same values and feelings that they are deriving by their behaviors. So, and there are 14 more suppositions in NLP. We'll not go into the details. We will see why NLP is for us. I mean, how can it help us? So, the first and the foremost and the biggest challenge in today's times is stress, anxiety, depression. Almost, I would say, 80% of the population is suffering from these problems. And it's not specific to our age group. Even small children, they are suffering from these disorders. They're completely stressed about studies, peer pressure, anxiety, what is happening, what will happen tomorrow. I will share my own example. I lost my mom 4 years back, and for 3 years, I was in complete depression, state of shock. I couldn't think of anything but her. I was on sleeping pills, I was on antidepressants, lot of therapies that I was undergoing. But trust me on this, NLP is what has actually got me out of this. I have not taken a single pill in the last year for these problems. So that is the reason when I was thinking of what topic I should be talking on, I thought I'll choose something which has actually benefited me and I can talk from my heart. So this is something which is completely, I mean, it is just a few minute solution to all of these problems and you can get rid of them completely. I'm not saying that the problems will not occur, the problems will keep occurring, but you will know how to get out of them, how to find solutions to these problems when you do NLP. A lot of times we have these past painful memories which are holding us back, which are constantly going on in our mind. These memories can be of hurt, insult, guilt, abuse, trauma, like I told you about my mom. So we can, and it is just a matter of few minutes, and NLP is the only technique in the world which can help you get rid of these past painful memories. It is just a matter of few minutes. And trust me, this is not hypnosis. We are not putting you in trance. The person is completely aware of what is being told to him. It is just a matter of few instructions and you are over with those painful memories. The memories will definitely be there in your mind. I'm not saying that you will forget them forever, but they will not traumatize you. They will not haunt you. There are a lot of times we have these memories that have happened with us in the childhood, maybe abuse. These are memories that you can't share with anybody, but they keep haunting you in between. So NLP is the only technique which can help you get rid of these painful memories. A lot of times we see people, they are completely depressed because they can't envision a future for themselves. They can't think that the future holds a value for them. So they see a very dark, black future in front of them. They are completely hopeless. They don't know what to see, why to live also. The body starts giving up on its own. But like the presupposition we said, every behavior has a positive intention. So the body is also trying to stick. So what the body does is it will try to give you a disease. So every time you have a disease, you have to find an underlying cause, an emotion that is actually causing it. So if you get rid of these emotions, the negative emotions that are holding you back, that are giving you this particular disease, you can get rid of your problem and you can start healing on your own. Students are facing this problem a lot of times these days. You must have seen a lot of students, why they're committing suicide. It is not the lack of resources that they are causing suicides, because they can't see the resources. They don't know what is there in store for them. They don't know how to use these resources. So they're having problems like insomnia, depression. Why do we see a surge in these problems, all these lifestyle issues suddenly? A lot of people have depression, autoimmune disorders, psychosomatic disorders, diabetes. Why are all these problems arising now? Because people can't see what the future holds for them. They can't see why they should live, why they should be fine, why they should be moving. If you see a doctor, every time he gives you a medicine, the first thing that he will say after giving the medicine is, have faith, keep the hope, and you will be fine. So hope is what is to be kept, and NLP is the technique that helps you envision a future and helps you move towards it, and it helps you make your future bright. Sometimes we have these inner critical voices, like we said, you can't do this, you can't do that, this is beyond you. Students have these problems. I can't study maths is beyond me. And we actually put it on them, because once he has not performed well in a test, second time he's not performed, so we put it on them that you can't do this. So these inner critical voices of you can't do this and you can't do that, all these voices can be muted in their mind, and they can be shown a positive direction. One big problem that we're facing today is addiction. When I say addiction, it may not be addiction of alcohol or cigarettes or drugs. Addiction can be of anything. It can be of tea, coffee. I had a friend, after I did the coaching, one of my friends came up to me and we were just chatting about this techniques. So I told her that what all it can do for us. And in a fun way, she said, can you get rid of my tea? Because I'm addicted to tea. I said, okay, let's try it on. We actually tried it and it worked. You will be surprised to know that now she can't drink tea at all. So if I go to her place, she will offer me a cup of tea, but she will not have it. And even if she's having it, she will not enjoy it. So she does not want to have it, because why we're taking things is because we're enjoying, we're getting some kind of kick out of it. So I go to her place, I only drink tea, she does not have tea. And then she blames me that this is not right, you did not do right to me. So that is how it works. A lot of times we have these phobias running on in our minds. Let's try to understand what a phobia is. Phobia is a sudden trigger which happens by seeing something or by hearing something, and you don't behave normal. You have these nauseous feeling, you have this sudden shivers, fear in your mind. But if the phobias were true, would everybody not get them? Would everybody not be scared of them? So why do some people have phobias? Because they have put it in their mind that these things are going to cause problem for them. So we can actually get rid of these phobias by NLP. I remember when I did this course and I did the technique on phobias. So after I came back home, my little one was playing in the driveway, and he came running inside and he told, Mom, you know, there is a moth, and he was completely shivering. So that was a good opportunity for me. I said, okay, I have just learned something. Dhruv, let's try on you. And he was like, no, Mom, I am not your guinea pig. But I was also hell-bent because I wanted to see if it really works. And we were not being just told that it works, even though we had seen live examples. So I made him do this technique. It was just a 5-minute thing. He was laughing initially. And towards the end, I asked him, Dhruv, are you still scared? And he said, no, I'm fine. I said, listen, you can't get away so easily. So if you think you are scared, you can tell me, because I'm going to make sure that you stand in front of the same moth and you see it. So he said, no, I'm fine. We both went to the driveway and he stood in front of the moth and he was fine. I was actually surprised. After half an hour, he came back again. He went to the driveway, he checked the moth, he came back inside, and I got the best compliment of my life. Mom, do you know you are a magician? The moth is still sitting there. I could see its eyes. I could see the moth moving around, and I'm not scared of it anymore. So that is what actually strengthened my belief that yes, it does work. And after that, I've tested it on various peoples for various kinds of phobias, and I have found, I have got results. Allergies, like similar to phobias, not everybody gets allergies to the same thing. If dust was causing allergies, you would get it, I would get it, he would get it, she would get it. It's not happening like that. A lot of people are allergic to dust. They're allergic to season changes. They're allergic to gluten. They're allergic to pollen and a lot of various things. So NLP is the cure. It is the solution which can help you get rid of these allergies in just a few minutes. You can be out of these problems that have been troubling you for all your life. Desired outcome, we've already seen how NLP can help you see a goal and how NLP can help you reach it. Let's get to the most interesting part of it, NLP techniques. I'll be sharing 2 techniques here, and we will be, I'll be sharing the practical of one of these. We will not be doing it simultaneously, but yes, you can always refer to the video and you can see if it works for you. I'm sure it will. The first and the most important technique of NLP is anchoring. Anchoring actually originated with a Russian scientist, Ivan Pavlov. I'm sure at least I read it in my science book when I was a school kid. My son, who is in class 9, he does not agree with me because he hasn't come across this experiment yet. So what Ivan Pavlov did is he had a dog. So every time the dog was eating, he would ring this bell constantly till the dog was eating. So after repeated trials, what he found is that the dog would salivate every time Pavlov would ring the bell. So he had actually conditioned the dog. He had created a neurological response between the bell and the dog's salivation. So every time he would ring the bell, the dog would actually salivate whether there was food present or there was no food. So similar to this, anchoring, this is a case of classical conditioning, and anchoring is quite similar to this. We can actually create our own cues and triggers which can help us change our state from a negative state to a positive resourceful state. Basically, if I have to say in a lighter vein, we can actually create our own bells and we can start salivating anytime. So that is what anchoring is actually. I'm sure you've seen Anthony Robbins, Tony Robbins, like we call him. If you've seen him on stage, a lot of times he's doing these particular gestures. He's boxing his hands, he's touching his earlobe. These are all triggers to reaching a positive state and staying in that confident, peaceful, positive state. So what anchoring can do is it can create these cues and triggers which can actually help you change your state anytime just by the touch of your fingertips. So you just have to make an anchor, use it anytime. An anchor can be, if I have to give you an example of an anchor, it maybe if I have talked to, suppose a visual anchor. If you look at your family albums, your old albums, you are reminded of your all your past memories. You get into that, all your pleasurable time is stirred completely. If you have to think of your auditory anchors, maybe thinking of a particular song, you suddenly get into a romantic mood. A perfume might just remind you of a time in the past. Like every time I cross my, every time I cross subway, I'm reminding of the time when I was dating my husband, because that is the place which used to be completely empty at those times, and we used to be sitting there every day. So every time I'm crossing subway, I can go back to 15 years when we were dating each other. So gustatory anchors, which by tasting something, maybe tasting a particular pudding, you're reminded of your mom or grandmom, or a particular place where you had eaten something similar. So anchors can be all types. An anchor does not need to be completely conscious. Sometimes we have these unconscious anchors also. Like suppose if I'm wearing a particular shoe and I'm feeling grouchy. So next time when I wear the shoe, my unconscious has anchored it in a way that I wear the shoe and I will feel grouchy on my own. So NLP is the technique which can help you create anchors, whereas collapse anchors also, because not every time we need to carry on with these problems. We can collapse these anchors. If you look at these trauma victims, because of the past that they have undergone, they have these certain memory, the memory of these sounds that can actually get back into their traumatic state. So we can desensitize these anchors and we can get them into a positive state. So this is what anchoring can do. Like if I talk about the number 13, the moment I say 13, everybody says it's unlucky. So when Sonia gave me the opportunity to talk about, to take this knowledge hour today, I gave her a date, which was 12th or 13th. And the first thing that came to my mind was not 13th, because 13th is not lucky. But then I thought to myself, people call 7th lucky. I lost my brother, my only sibling, on 7th of August. August is my birthday month. So if 7th August couldn't be lucky for me, how can 13th be unlucky for me? So that is what I told my mind. And here on the 13th, I am giving my first Facebook live session to all of you. So that is how we can change our mind. We can collapse these anchors and we can get desirable outcomes. So let's just, I'll just tell you this exercise quickly. You think of a state that you want to be in. For simplicity and for ease, we will think of a happy state. So every time you are sad, you can actually use this anchor and you can become happy again. So what you have to do is think of a unique place in your body. Maybe just for starting, we'll use the knuckle of your index finger. So what you have to do is you have to close your eyes and you have to think of a moment when you were very, very happy. Just go back to your memories. So you have to see what you saw, hear what you heard, feel what you felt, taste what you tasted, and smell what you smelled then. So you have to use all your 5 senses while you are visualizing this happy feeling. You don't have to touch initially. The moment you realize that you are in the peak of the whole process, you have to touch your finger to your knuckle for about 5 to 10 seconds, and you have to stay in that state. And then you remove your finger. Now you have to do the same thing all over again with a different memory. So it is actually the strength of your anchor which will make this technique useful and more powerful. So again, think of another memory and again use the same technique. So every time you do this, you are actually making your anchor more strong. So now you have to test the anchor and you can test it anytime. So when you are when you are in a sad state, you just touch your and unconsciously you will realize that yes, you are in your happy state. So that is how anchoring works. Another technique that NLP uses is how we know people. How do we get into their shoes? How can we understand what they're saying? And how can we communicate better with them? So there are 3 types of peoples, VAK. There are people who are visual. They will store all their information in visual form. So they like to carry handouts. They want to write. They want to underline. They want to highlight things. They want everything which can be seen. There are people who are auditory. They like to use their audio senses more. They want to hear things. They want to get into discussions. They want to hear it out before they can decide on to things. And then there are people who want to try out things. They want to use their, basically they want to use their senses. The They want to try things. They want to see the touch and feel of it before they can reach a conclusion. The left part of the body is actually remembering. So if I look at this picture, in the right is truth. So this is actually me. If I have to remember a thing, and if I'm a visual person, if you ask me what was the color of the dress that you wore on your first date, I will actually go left and I will be visualizing. So when you actually see these things, you can learn, when you learn these patterns, you will know if the person is telling you the truth or is he lying to you. So by which direction his eyes are moving, whether he's an auditory person, whether he's a visual person, because if you communicate in the same representational manner, you will be able to build a rapport with him and you will be able to communicate better. So we have to see what kind of underlying systems that they are using, how they are storing information. So we can use this VAK technique to know people better, how they are. I mean, are they visual? Are they auditory? Or are they kinesthetic? So we can use these two techniques. And of course, in NLP, we have a whole lot of techniques that can be used on different problems that I told you. I will not be able to share the techniques with you all today. So yes, but we can get on a one-to-one if any of you is interested in knowing more about it. So that is all for the session today. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and I will just leave you for a food for thought, which summarizes what we have learned today, which says there are no unresourceful people, only unresourceful states. Thank you everybody for being here and for listening to me. I'm open to your questions if you have.
That was a wonderful session, Nidhi. So insightful and so amazing. It means the comments that are coming in, everyone is just resonating, especially when you shared your story. I think a lot of them were, saying that I could just feel and where you're coming from. And it was really great that you shared your story and people could just connect with where you're coming from. It just made a lot more sense. I have a few questions from my audience, but before that, I'll take an opportunity because I didn't get the chance to ask question yesterday. So what I want to understand, and there are a lot of image consultants who are watching this right now. So the first question to you is that how can an image consultant bring or combine the knowledge of NLP in their day-to-day practice? Like, what's the combination of NLP and image management, and how it can help?
Thank you so much for that question, Sonia. I am an image consultant myself. So yes, I know the image consulting theory and the practical aspect of it. But besides all of that, I am a human being also. So even if I have learned the theory, even if I have learned what image consulting is, how it can help people, a lot of times there are limitations that I'm facing in my own life. There are things that are holding me back. There are times that I'm not able to look clearly at my future. There are times that I'm not able to reach my particular goals. So NLP can actually help you get rid of these obstacles, and it can help you, it can actually show you the path and help you get those desirable outcomes that you want to get from your image consulting business.
And what about from the client perspective, like how it can help the client? If you have the knowledge of NLP, can you really combine it with the image consulting practice? I'm asking because a lot of people are just pursuing. There are a lot of people who are just, out from the college, has just explored the, area of image consulting. And of course, there's a lot of room for growth. So this is a great topic for them to know. So if you can just from that perspective tell them that what are the how they can combine it in their end delivery to the client also.
Okay. If we go back to the last slide of my presentation where it talks about the VAK modality, how people are storing information, how they are using this information. So if we can actually understand what the other person's perspective is, how they are using and how they're storing information, we can actually understand them better. We are able to communicate with them better. Because if I am a visual person, I want to see everything on paper. And if my client is an auditory person, he just wants to hear things. So wherein I'm showing a paper and showing him the results, see, this is what will happen, this is what will happen, and he wants to hear things. So we are not able to be on the same line. So if I can actually understand my client, what he wants, what are the deliverables that he's expecting out of me, I'm able to give him a better result, and we are able to get on the same line. So you can actually learn how to communicate better with him.
Correct. Correct. All right. So the next question is from Anita. And before that, everyone is saying it's very informative, very well explained, very insightful session, Nidhi. Thank you. The concept of anchorage was explained very beautifully. Thank you. Thank you, Nidhi, for an interesting session. I will definitely read more about it, and I'm sure NLP can really help a lot of people. If you are watching right now and you have, because NLP is something that a lot of people want to know about, you hear it, but then you don't really know what it is. So even if there's this, like a small question in your mind, or you want to understand how it works, what is it about, any question that comes, please ask Nidhi, because she's the right person to answer all those questions. So moving on to our question for today, and I have a really beautiful comment also, so I'll save that for the last. But from Anita. Anita has asked, if I have to hire an NLP practitioner for myself personally, what are the steps that I will go through? So if I have to maybe simplify, like how in image consulting we say analysis, recommendation, implementation, right? 3 steps, and we simply explain it to our clients. So maybe from that perspective, she's asking that what are the steps that she will be going through if she hires an NLP practitioner for herself?
Okay. The first step will be understanding why she wants an NLP practitioner for herself. What is the kind of problem she is facing? Because see, no problem can be solved if the person is not open to the solution. So you have to be open, and you have to accept that yes, you have this problem and you want to find a solution to it.
Right.
uh, like if I talk in my house, my father takes he's an army officer, so he has to take his 2 drinks. I can't say that I want to get rid of this addiction and I want you to leave this alcohol. He does not want it.
Right.
So the person has to be open to that kind of a change. So first step will be to understand what is the problem, why do you want a solution to this, and how it is hampering your progress.
Correct.
Then we apply those techniques. The first step would be understanding the problem. Second would be application of the techniques. And third would be to check if the desired outcome has been achieved or not. If not, if there is something else in between, then we actually go back to step 2, understand, do another set of techniques, because a lot of times it is not as simple as it looks. There might be a lot of things that are going on. There could be simultaneous problems that could be happening and occurring in the mind. So we have to use a lot of techniques to get to the outcome.
That's very beautifully explained. Yes, absolutely. I think you've answered her question really nicely. Next question that I have is from Ashwin, and he's asking, what advice would you give to business owners and how to use NLP to improve sales?
Okay. Sales. First was we talked about the rapport building. Second is you have to be in when we talked about the resourceful states, if you are not in a positive state, because a lot of times what happens is when we are going out for our sales pitches, things have gone wrong. Maybe we had a fight in the house, there was a lot of traffic, the car maybe got the car punctured, or something happened on the way, we were not able to reach on time, so we are all stressed. That is the time we are not able to deliver, because we are already running late. So we have we have all these negative emotions and these limiting beliefs that are coming in our mind. So how do you get rid of this negative emotion, and how do you suddenly get to within like few seconds, how can you reach a positive state wherein you don't think and you don't use your mind to concentrate on these negative feelings, and how you're able to be normal and deliver in front of your client. So NLP can actually help you do that.
Great, great. I hope, Ashwin, you got your answer. Another question from Anita. She's asking, you mentioned applying it for your son's phobia. So how early you think a child can be introduced to this technique?
Any time when the child is able to understand the basic instructions, because the instructions are not at all complicated. There is no complicated procedure. If I mean, like I explained, the anchoring technique. So the techniques are as simple as this. You just tell people to follow basic set of instructions. They just have to close their eyes, visualize a little bit. If the child is able to take in your commands, he's able to understand few little things, maybe as young as about 4 or 5 years. If they're able to understand, if they're able to follow your commands, you can start using this at the early age.
That's great. So Anita, means you can start at any point of time. I think there is no age group for this. Any other, okay, there is one more question coming in. Wow, there is a long question. Meanwhile, I'll read the comment that I was talking about. So Shailendra has written that conscious or subconscious reminds him of a rider and an elephant. Rider guides, elephant get things done, but elephant is too powerful to be left alone without direction. So beautifully written.
Thank you so much.
All right. The next question is by Dr. Rashmi Rathore. She's saying that I understand it's a vast topic, but still, if you can answer how NLP helps in two cases. And the first one is clearing phobias in kids' general fear of dark, being alone, which I think you touched upon. So maybe you can just quickly brief that once again. And the second one is addiction to sweets. Maybe you can give a technique for that. And she's saying, would be really thankful if you can answer both. Truly enjoyed the session. Thank you so much.
Okay. Like we talked about the phobias. Phobia again, we talked about my son. So if he can get rid of this motophobia, which is the fear of moths, I'm sure children can, because see, no phobia is there is no phobia which everybody has, unless it's corona, which everybody has it. Yes. So every phobia has got an underlying cause. There is something that has happened in the childhood, that the child has maybe experienced, seen on TV, heard from somewhere, read in a storybook. There is definitely an underlying cause of it. So we have to actually get to this cause, and that is where we can actually get him rid of these phobias, even if it is a phobia of the dark. So children can be, they can be worked upon to get rid of these. Addiction of sweets, like I said, you can get rid of any of these addictions. My friend, just in play, she got rid of this addiction of tea. So if she can get rid of an addiction of tea, I'm 100% confident that you can get rid of sweets, but be very, very careful when you say you want to get rid of sweets. You will not be able to eat sweets. You will, the mere sight and the smell of sweets will make you nauseous. So you have to be very, very careful that you want to leave it, because then we have to actually work again to sensitize you. So
Wow.
happens like that. Yeah.
I would not want that. I love my sweets. Kamlesh is saying such an informative session, especially for a person like me who's a novice in this regard. Thanks, Nidhi, for such an alarming and a necessary info. So, if Nidhi, if you want to give like a simple tip, which is related to NLP, and means from NLP, if you want to just give it to all your viewers for every day, if they can do something which can help them. So what would that be?
The one line that I constantly keep reminding myself all day is, it's all in the mind. It's a completely game of the mind. If you can change your mindset, you can change the whole game. So it actually begins from there. So like I told you, the 13 story. So if you can convince yourself that this is not true, if it is not the reality, I'm just perceiving it. If you can change it from there, you can make everything work for you. And it has actually benefited me. I am talking from my own experience.
Right. Great. Thank you so much, Nidhi, for a wonderful session. You have been getting amazing comments from people I can see on the Facebook feed. Take your time, go through the feeds and the comments after the session, and please do reply. If you have more questions for Nidhi, please drop them in the comment section. She would, after the session, she would go and reply to all your comments. That's a great time to catch hold of her. So do ask your questions right now. I hope, Rashmi, your question was answered and she's answered both of them. So hope you got your answer there. Thank you so much for your session, Nidhi.
Thank you, everybody who's been here listening to me. If I've not been able to answer any questions, if you think you need more answers to them, you want more clarity on the solutions, the techniques, like Sonia has said, you can write them in the comment section. You have my contact details, you have my Facebook profile, you have my WhatsApp numbers, you have my call number. So you can always reach out to me. I would be more than happy to help you all. Thank you so much for being here and listening to me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nidhi. Now, that's it for today's session, today's Knowledge Happy Hour. Tomorrow, we have something really interesting. We are bringing you something really interesting, really innovative. And tomorrow's topic is fashion feng shui. Now, what is fashion feng shui? It is an innovative, technique that is inspired by the feng shui, which we all know about, feng shui philosophy. And as we know that feng shui is basically based on that the environment we live in, it influences our well-being, right? So as our body's most intimate environment, our clothing does the same. So our clothing gets also inspired and influenced by where we are living, what environment we are living in. And that's the main concept. And I'm not going to tell more because you need to hear it right from the master herself. Tomorrow's speaker is going to be Sue Donnelly. She is AICICIP and she is the only fashion feng shui master in UK. She's also upcoming VP education for AICI. So she will be the one who will be taking you through fashion feng shui. So I will see you all tomorrow, 7:30 p.m., same time on Facebook Live. See you. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.